Amazing. I've got to tell someone about this. Hey, all you people. Hey, all you people. Hey, all you people, won't you listen to me? Skibbity beat about a boot about a daddy now, yeah. Thank you.
And the fans, you have changed my life.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nadia. I'm also known as a cool chick out here 13 on Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube of course, Spotify. So if you haven't subscribed yet or checked out my playlist or any of my other platforms, go ahead and do so. Don't forget to click the little notification bell. I have a new video up every Thursday, and I'm excited to get into this. So today we're going to be talking about chapter 3 of Taylor Swift's timeline. So we're going to be going through how she goes from 16 to 19, how she's an opening act for other artists, and then eventually gets her own headlining tour. Then summer of 2006, she decides that she's going to do some homeschooling, some online school. She decides that that's just a better option for her academically. Because of that, she actually is able to finish school a year early, but doing online school enables her to go out onto the road and do a radio tour.
And you hear tour, you think tour bus? No, rental car, Taurus, me, in the back seat.
June 11th of 2006, she has a CMA performance using a full band, and I'm not sure whether at that time she had her own band or not, but I know she did have tryouts for her own band, acquiring Todd, her guitarist, and Emily Poe, her fiddle player. And she had tryouts for them, I would assume during her senior year of high school. Being able to do that, having two of fellow band members consistently travel with her to help her do tours and be an opening act was a great big help to her also. I personally find it interesting that in the bridge of Enchanted, her one wish is that please don't be in love with someone else, please don't have somebody waiting on you, because in Enchanted, when that's your only wish, you can see that in her last two previous relationships that she just had before experiencing the trials of the Speak Now album, she had been through unfaithfulness twice in a row with her two previous partners, so it makes sense that her one and only wish in Enchanted is I hope you're not in love with somebody else, and I hope you don't have someone waiting on you.
I remember putting the physical CD singles into envelopes to mail out to radio.
Tim McGraw was released June 19th of 2006. I think a lot of the happier songs on the Speak Now album and the Fearless album are all writing about the same relationship, and I think this is a relationship that she experiences when she's on the radio tour in the summer of 2006 and also 2007 as well. I think all those songs are all about the meeting and initial falling of the same relationship. I do also want to point out that in the original version of Sparks Fly, she talks about her partner initiating dancing, and it's the same initiation of dancing that takes place in Last Kiss. There's an unreleased song called Love They Haven't Thought of Yet, and in the lyrics it says, I might be wrong, but Romeo might not be my kind of guy. And then there's another lyric that says, perfect love story except the ending. And it makes me think that she was involved in a romance that other people either disapproved of or that she maybe wasn't sure of for herself. And it does connect to Love Story a lot as far as Romeo and Except the Ending goes. So I think that it was also written at this time. The secret message in Untouchable is we always want what we can't reach. And it makes me think that, Untouchable, even though it's a covered song, it was redone in such a longing, slow ballad kind of way. It makes me think that there's a love that Taylor's involved in or wants, and she thinks it's great, but she just can't touch it. It's like she's so close yet so far, and it's right there, but it's like untouchable for some reason. Coming Undone is also a lyric used in Untouchable, and it's the same lyric that's later on used in 2 is Better Than 1 as well, which makes me think that it's about the same relationship. June of 2006, she has another lover diary entry. July 22nd of 2006, she has a MySpace diary entry written while she's on the road going on tour with her bandmates.
So I'm going to introduce you to these people up here with me. This over here, give it up for Todd on guitar. Ladies, Todd is single. Oh, I know. This is Emily over here on fiddle. Now, Emily has a boyfriend, but she has agreed that what happens in LA stays there.
while she's at the Whiskey Go-Go. She says that her single Tim McGraw has been out for about a month. It came out June 19th of 2006, and she's at the Whiskey Go-Go July 24th of 2006.
You know, I've had a single out now for about a month. I'm going to give y'all a little project. There's this radio station called KZLA, and I really want them to play my song, more than you have any idea. So I want each and every one of you to call them up like 5 times a day and tell them you want to hear a song called Tim McGraw by this girl named Taylor Swift. Please.
So it's summer of 2006, and she's taken on the world, playing at more bars and getting more recognition as a musician. And there's a song called Perfect Have I Loved, which is an unreleased song about a summer romance, and it basically says that like she hopes it lasts forever, but even if it doesn't, she would know like how perfect she had loved. And I know that she had a summer romance in her sophomore year of high school with Jordan, but this song is very whimsical and romantic and like saying it was perfect. And I don't think the other songs that are written about Jordan describe like a perfect romance. I think it describes a very back and forth romance. So the summer romance of Perfect Have I Loved, I think, takes place in summer of 2006. September 1st of 2006, Taylor Swift has her first Grand Ole Opry debut performance.
Hey, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? We're playing the Opry.
He said the way.
Welcome.
How are you?
Really excited.
Hey,
So much for everything.
We're excited to have you.
Oh my God.
Just a boy in a Chevy
No way.
that had a tendency.
Aww. Congratulations on your Grand Ole Opry debut. Love, Mom and Dad.
I hope you think that little black dress. Think of my head on your chest. And my old faded blue jeans. What do you think's in the wrong? I hope you think of me.
So the first day of September in 2006, she has the Grand Ole Opry performance, and she's pretty happy about it. And at some point in September, she starts crying for some reason. And then we notice in October 12th of 2006, he has the Lover Diary entry of writing Comin' With the Rain, which we know to be a sad song. And the secret message in Comin' With the Rain is that I won't admit that I wish you'd come back. What I think happened is she was slowly starting to rise and get more famous, and Jordan started hearing about it. And I think that she probably got a phone call from him regretting the decision he made, wanting to get her back, and just wishing that they would get back together. And I think that was what inspired Comin' With the Rain, because it looks like that's also what happened in the White Horse music video as well. Jordan and not about Sam is just because in Comin' With the Rain it does mention games, which is also mentioned in the secret message of Forever and Always, as well as other songs that allude to the relationship with Jordan on and off and playing games. I think the song Fearless is the first song about a new relationship after Comin' With the Rain, or at least a new romance or a new crush. Fearless has always been described as the best first date that she's never had, and it describes an experience that she said never happened, but it describes the most perfect first date, but I think it just seems real. In the song Fearless, it talks about when it's just rained, and her last relationship, specifically with Jordan, because I think Sam was more of just like a quick, you know, relationship, oh he cheated, I'm done, but I think with Jordan it was the last relationship that she was very involved in and really heartbroken by. And we remember that when she was writing breakup songs about Jordan, she referenced rain a lot. It was a very rainy breakup. And so in Fearless, she says, there's something about the way the street looks when it's just rained. And I think that that's said in a metaphorical sense, because she had just rained in her previous relationships, and now, you know, the sky is clearing, and I want to dance in the rain. Also in Sparks Fly, she says, meet me in the pouring rain. And I think that at the time she had a crush, but she wasn't ready to be in a new relationship. It was still raining mentally, and in Sparks Fly she says, meet me in the pouring rain and kiss me on the sidewalk, take away the pain, you know? And I think it just all follows this linear story of a new romance happening when you listen to these songs in order. I think the first verse in the song Mine describes the meeting of the new romance or the new relationship, and she describes herself as being a flight risk with the fear of falling, wondering why we bother with love but never lasts. Which makes sense because she's been in 3+ relationships before experiencing this one, so she of course is a little pessimistic, and she hasn't been treated the best either. So in Mine, she describes herself as a flight risk with a fear of falling, and in Today Was a Fairytale, she describes herself as damsel in distress. But you can see that when they meet in Mine, she is a flight risk with the fear of falling, but by the time they go on their first date and have spent time together in Today Was a Fairytale, she said she used to be a damsel in distress. And it really says that this person made things change for her and made her have a more positive outlook on love. I think the dress worn in Today Was a Fairytale is the same dress as the one in Fearless. I think that those two songs both talk about a first date, and that they coincide with each other, describing the same date. I also think in Today Was a Fairytale she talks about her date being the prince, which is interesting because it's the exact same phrasing that she uses in Love Story as well. She also mentions magic in Today Was a Fairytale, and in All Too Well she talks about how that magic's not here no more. So by this time her debut album still hasn't come out yet. It's just her first single of Tim McGraw, and on her debut album there's a song called Stay Beautiful, and I think that that song might be about Emily Poe, even as just like a friendship sense, just because the secret message in Stay Beautiful is shake and bake, and in her debut album little booklet it mentions a lot of thank yous and people she's grateful for, and one of the sentences is Radio Man, shake and bake, this is how we roll. And I think Radio Man is her guitarist Todd, and shake and bake might be Emily, so I think that Stay Beautiful is about Emily Poe, her fiddle player. Taylor Swift's manager at the time, Rick Barker, says that Our Song was the last song added to the debut album. October 17th of 2006, Taylor finds out she's going to be on the Rascal Flatts tour.
What did y'all do tonight?
Second night.
We opened up for Rascal Flatts.
Second night.
And
we got to meet him.
After the show, we were walking backstage, and all of a sudden, they're walking.
It was like angels coming towards us.
It's this hallway, you know? And there's this like long hallway, and all of a sudden, and Joe Dog, and Jay walking all three in a row, just like that, just down the hallway.
October 24th of 2006, Taylor Swift's debut album releases.
My album sold 39,000 in the first week, and then over time it started to sell like this. Then something really crazy started to happen. I was opening up for every single country headliner imaginable. I was opening up for Brad Paisley, George Strait, Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, like all these people I'd always wanted to open up shows for. I was a nervous wreck. I'd rehearsed nonstop over and over again, but I loved it.
November 23rd of 2006 was Thanksgiving, and she performed with Emily and Bruschetta at a football game. In an interview published by Today's Woman Now in August, years later, Emily recalled the time with Taylor thusly. No one knew her then. She was only 16. I traveled on the bus with Taylor and her mother, and the rest of the crew, all men, were on another bus. We went all over the US and Canada. That was the summer of 2006. We would sometimes be gone from Wednesday to Sunday. It was a great experience. I got to see places that I might have never traveled to, but that life is not as glamorous as one might think. You can see that even today on Facebook, Emily Poe's friends recall her time touring with Taylor, saying that Emily still had to take senior classes in college. She was still enrolled in classes, and she would go on tour with Taylor and then take a red-eye flight just to get back to class. So of course it doesn't sound as glamorous as one might think. It sounds exhausting, but they were living their dreams. Summer 2006 into 2007, they're taking on the world, they're opening for other acts, and they're just living out their dream. And it seems that Taylor, following this musical timeline, is in this relationship, and It's the best relationship she's ever been in, and it felt so different and more real than anything she ever felt before. And you can see that in the lyrics of her music. And because it's the best relationship she's ever been in, she doesn't care what other people have to say about it, because, you know, it doesn't matter. This relationship is ours, and right now you're mine, and it's the best thing that I've ever been a part of. I also want to point out that on the Speak Now album, the first song on the album is the song Mine, and then the first song on the deluxe version of the album is Ours, and I just think it's so cute and so heartfelt and thoughtful that the album was curated that way. So in Back to December, it describes this relationship where it says, I think about summer, all the beautiful times where I watched you laughing from the passenger side, and then realized I loved you in the fall. And then the cold came, the dark days, when a fear crept into my mind. You gave me all your love, and all I gave you was goodbye. So it basically talks about this relationship that started in the summer, and maybe it was magical, and Taylor then realized, oh my gosh, I love you, like in the fall time. And then in the winter time, there was a breakup that happened. But by this time in 2006, we're now in like the fall, maybe early winter of 2006. November 29th of 2006, she has another lover diary entry. And she talks about how cold it is there. And she talks about how she like unexpectedly got to have a day off because of the amount of snow that was happening and where she was touring. And so she got a last minute flight to Nashville, and since she had a day off, that she's gonna go have lunch with Abigail the next day. I have tomorrow off, so I'm going out to eat with Abigail. Oh, and I'm dieting again. Over the holidays, I didn't watch what I ate, and man, it's so weird how fast I can gain or lose weight. It's crazy. So I'm gonna go lose some now. I hope that her struggles with an eating disorder didn't start this early, as early as November 2006, but it sounds like weight is a thing that's on her mind by this time, if not earlier. I don't recall her having any like big photo shoots earlier than 2006 to trigger anything that would make her think that she needed to lose weight. Except for the one Abercrombie & Fitch one she had back in middle school. And before that, the only count of struggling with any type of eating disorder that we have is just her guitar teacher, computer repairman, giving the account that her experience with eating was not normal. Assuming his account is true, that was as early as 12 years old. So even if it was as early as 12 or as late as November of 2006, like we're seeing now at 16, you can see that she's been struggling with the idea of weight and potential eating disorder at an early age. And it took her close to 15 years to finally come out about it in the Miss Americana documentary at 30 years old. So you can see it's something she's been dealing with for a very long time that she finally has the courage to speak up about. But I just think it's important to note how early she is talking about the concept of weight and the concept of gaining and losing weight and having the decision and control of when she wants to lose it and when she wants to eat more than what a diet would recommend. You can see this later on too in the Teardrops on My Guitar music video. So back in October, Comin' With The Rain was written, and I gave my theory that it was about Jordan trying to get back with her. And then I think in November she's in this new relationship that she's loving and she's having a great time. And then in December she writes White Horse, talking about the experience that she had with Jordan and what that was like. And I think it depicts that inspiration of how Comin' With The Rain came to be, with a phone call and him realizing he's sorry, and she writes Comin' With The Rain, but then gets into this new greater relationship and is over it and finally writes White Horse in December. Taylor claims in an article that the song White Horse is written about the same guy as the song Love Story, but it just doesn't make sense to me. At the time that White Horse was written in December, it doesn't make sense to me that Love Story would have also been written at this time. Like, Love Story could have been written at an earlier time when her and Jordan were originally dating. That's perfectly plausible. And then White Horse could have been written months later in December of 2006, almost a year later actually. But I just personally think that Love Story is actually about a different relationship, and I think it's about the same relationship that is depicted in Sparks Fly, Enchanted, Mine, and Ours, which I think Love Story also has the same message as the song Ours, that everybody else disapproves of this love. But you be the prince and I'll be the princess, just like in Today Was a Fairy Tale. Just run away with me, say yes, this love is ours, and you're the best thing that's ever been mine. December 13th of 2006, Taylor Swift turned 17 and graduated high school a year early at this point from doing online school while being on a radio tour. December 27th of 2006, Taylor says she hasn't kissed a boy in 209 days. 209 days back from December 27th of 2006 would be June 1st of 2006, which is Emily Poe's 21st birthday, and it probably doesn't mean anything, but I just like to put that out there because she makes a note of it on December 27th of 2006 in the Lover Diary entry. January of 2007, Taylor Swift's childhood home in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania is sold, and then January 11th through March 3rd of 2007, she goes on tour with George Strait as an opening act. And then the next day, January 12th of 2007, she has another MySpace journal entry talking about the first show with George Strait and being domestic with Emily on the bus. And then a couple days later, she films a Teardrops on My Guitar music video shoot.
It feels kind of weird being back in a high school because I haven't been in high school for about a year. So it's kind of interesting coming back.
And you can see that she again has eating healthy and eating gluttonous as a subject on her mind.
And I am so happy right now. But, you know, I've been being healthy for a while now. I'm pretty much craving the fact that I'm going to McDonald's after this and ordering an extra large. Yes, I will supersize that, order of fries, and some ice cream.
And then the next day she has another journal entry where she talks about Emily and the Teardrops on My Guitar music video shoot. And then a few weeks later, February 12th of 2007, she has another MySpace journal entry where she talks about Emily again and their Grey's Anatomy watching rituals on the bus. And then a week and a half later, February 22nd of 2007, she opens with George Strait at Indianapolis. And then the day after that, February 23rd of 2007, she opens for George Strait again in Knoxville. April 8th of 2007 is Easter Sunday, and she has another Lover Diary entry. And then April 9th of 2007, she opened for the Dodgers game in Los Angeles. And then a few days later, April 16th of 2007, she went to the CMT Awards. April through September of 2007, she has the select dates of Brad Paisley Bonfires and Amplifiers tour. In May or June of 2007, Taylor also posts a video on MySpace, and it's dedicated to Emily. And you can find it on YouTube, and you can also find it in my playlist. And the first line of that letter that appears in this tribute video is, "Emily, I feel as if our relationship has been taken to the next level over the past few months." And to me, I find it interesting that she chooses to say, "I feel as if our relationship has been taken to the next level," instead of saying our friendship. And it also would feel off to me if I talked about, "I feel as if our friendship has been taken to the next level." And so what I think is by June of 2007, they have been dating for at least a few months. I'm going to say it. I think they were in a relationship. I think Emily Poe is the relationship that Taylor Swift has been writing about since summer of 2006. From Enchanted to Mine to Sparks Fly to Ours to Love Story to Love They Haven't Thought of Yet. I think it was a perfect love that was so real and unlike anything else she had ever felt before, because before she had always been in relationships with boys. And I think she is coming into her own and probably discovering her sexuality, and I think that she dated Emily Poe and gave an entire tribute video. June 1st of 2007, Emily turns 22, and Taylor and her whole entire band go on a summer trip to the Grand Canyon in Arizona, and you can see in this gif here that her and Emily almost hold hands. Also in summer of 2007, she writes The Best Day for her mother and records it in the summer so that way her mom didn't find out about it. In July of 2007, she also mentions in an article that if she ever does Crossroads, she does want to do it with Def Leppard. And then in October of 2007, a few months later, she has a duo Halloween costume as the Wreckers with Taylor as Michelle Branch and Emily as Jessica Harp. And then November 1st of 2007, her and Emily end up pranking Rodney Atkins on his tour. And the next day in her MySpace journal entry, she talks about how that prank went and everything. But it's also the last journal entry that she names Emily at all. I think that they had been in a relationship and it was getting serious and it was getting real. And her label was really disapproving, hence the song Love Story. And I think that it caused some turbulence. And it caused Emily to resign from being Taylor Swift's fiddle player.
I took you away, and then it was just me, and then the guy had a really low voice. It was scary. And I woke up. Don't ever let them take you away.
I won't.
That was like the worst thing ever.
I think that by November of 2007, again, as Back to December says, I realized I loved you in the fall. And then the cold came, December of 2007, when a fear crept into my mind. I think her label put the idea in her head that if she were to continue with a same-sex relationship, she would not be as successful as the dream that she's currently having the privilege to live out, this thing that she loves. Who does she love more, her music or her current relationship with Emily? You can see in the song Change that she is writing about this love that hopefully someday things will change. And I noticed the secret message in Change is, you made things change for me. And it takes me back to that line in Mine where she says, I was a flight risk with the fear of falling, wondering why we bother with love if it never lasts. Which then later in Today Was a Fairytale, I used to be a damsel in distress. And it makes me think, you made things change for me. And I also think she made things change as far as discovering who she was and what she likes and who she likes. But I also think this song could also just very well be about the fans, how the fans made things change for her. She's quoted as saying, what I actually wrote this song about was being on a small record label. When you're at a record label that had 12 employees, you have to work harder to get on major tours. You have to work harder to get presenter slots or performer slots on award shows. There was this moment where I sat there and was like, when are we going to get a fighting chance? We're the smallest record label in Nashville, but we want this really bad. I wrote the beginning to this song, and I thought someday things are going to be different. I finished the song that night that I won the Horizon Awards at the CMA Awards and looked over and saw the president of my tiny little record label crying.
This is definitely the highlight of my senior year.
And I think that this song could very well be about the fans also. I think that's perfectly plausible, of course. I just find it odd that the music video to the song Change is filmed in a church setting, and there's religious undertones in the song Change as well, which makes me think it's about a same-sex relationship that she was experiencing and hoped would last. You can see one of Emily Poe's friends saying, as one of your oldest fans, I have watched you grow from the precarious little girl to the accomplished violinist that really preferred the fiddle. I fondly remember what seemed like just a short time ago, listening to you practice your graduation speech, watching you become the college student, the best fiddle player Taylor Swift has ever had, saying you're gonna live in Nashville, and then getting the email, you won't believe it, but I'm coming home. This tells me that I don't think anybody, including Taylor or Emily, could have seen Emily ever leaving the career that she had and ever resigning from supporting Taylor, especially on the road. But I don't think it was a mutual agreed upon or wanted decision. I think it was just something that just had to happen. Then comes the song You Always Find Your Way Back Home, which we can conclude is written at least by April 2nd of 2009, 2 years later, since that was when production for the Hannah Montana movie would have started. But You Always Find Your Way Back Home, I always thought, was either about Taylor going back home to win the Horizon Award after touring all around the world, You'll Always Find Your Way Back Home, or Emily moving back to her home state of Indianapolis, and Taylor saying, you can travel around the world and you can change whatever you do, but you always find your way back home. That was also something that crossed my mind, but I don't really feel that strongly about it. There's also a song called One Thing, and in One Thing there's a quote that says, coming down to nothing, which is also in Forever and Always, but there's also a lyric saying slipping through my hands, which is also a lyric in mine. Waiting tables rhymes with playing fiddle. Just saying.
Love seems like this huge, complicated thing, but it seems like every once in a while two people get it figured out. Two people get it right. And so I think the rest of us, we walk around daydreaming about what that might be like. To find that one great love, where all of a sudden everything that used to seem so complicated became simple. And everything that used to seem wrong all of a sudden seemed right because you were with the person who made you feel fearless.
So I think they had an infatuation or a crush starting in the summer of 2006. And then it bled into all of 2007 as well. Definitely by the summer of 2007, they were in a relationship. Taylor was realizing that she was in love in the fall of 2007, and then the winter of 2007 came. So in fall of 2007, November 20th through November 25th, we're not really sure where or when exactly, but we think that was when she met up with Colbie Caillat to write the song Breathe together.
It's a really sad breakup song, so it's going to be awesome. It was total therapy because I came in and I was like, look, you know, one of my best friends, you know, I'm going to have to not see anymore, and it's not going to be part of what I do, and it's like the hardest thing to go through. It's like crazy listening to the song because you'd think it would be about a relationship. It's a really sad breakup song, but it's really about like losing a friend, and like having a fallout and just the loss.
But like any recent song, it doesn't matter.
It can relate to anyone's anything.
It does. Yeah. It's never specific as to why. That's my favorite thing about it. It doesn't talk about why or whose fault it was, because sometimes the hardest time and way to say goodbye is when it's nobody's fault. Yeah. It just has to stop.
Colbie also went on the record earlier this year in 2020 saying that their experience was great and she had a good time, but that the writing session that took place with the song Breathe was in fact about Taylor's bandmate. So there was probably no like dramatic denouncement, only a rather sad bureaucratic arrangement. A further condition of which may well have been that she didn't communicate with Taylor again. But the advantage of the solution is that it enabled Taylor to be heartbroken about Emily's departure weeks before it finally transpired, making Breathe written in November and then the situation of parting ways in December, like in how Back to December is depicted. The music video for our song is actually edited later on to be a pop-up video, and I find it interesting that the song they chose to explain things is our song, and it could have been just because it was the last music video that Emily made an appearance in, but I think it also was because it was the song that her manager at the time said was added last minute to the album, and I believe it to be a song about Emily. December 5th of 2007, Taylor does a Studio 330 session with CMT, and Emily is there performing. She also writes another MySpace diary entry as well. She mentions meeting Colbie Caillat and says they got together and wrote a killer song, and then she also mentions that December 5th of 2007 is also where they start pre-planning for recording the Fearless album. In an interview years later, Emily is quoted as saying, "I toured with Taylor for about 2 years and eventually left, took the LSAT, and entered law school at University of Tennessee in Knoxville," meaning they probably met in summer of 2006, and then she left in December of 2007. Dark Blue Tennessee is another unreleased song that was supposed to go on the Fearless album, and I think it's a really interesting song because it describes the conversation and the woe of missing someone so well. And it starts out by saying that Emily said, "I got me a nice new apartment in the city. Wouldn't you have hated that?" And she says, "I'm getting by with a broken heart you left me with," which really speaks because Taylor's always blamed herself for that relationship ending, which is depicted in Back to December. And she says, missing you like this is such sweet sorrow," which takes me back to the taymoji and the love story taymoji pack. "Missing you like this is such sweet sorrow." And Taylor says, "Won't you come back to me?" And she talks about how Tennessee is now just dark and blue and haunted without Emily. And the second verse is that he was lying when he said he moved to LA. He's just hiding out on the other side of town. Because remember, Emily still had to apply to law school in Knoxville still. And she's still in town, but they're just too proud to say that they miss each other. And it's interesting because it also says she almost called him on the night he wrote these simple words on his goodbye note. And goodbye note is a theme that comes up a lot in these songs that are about to come. In the All Too Well original lyrics in the Lover Diary entries, a goodbye note or a note in general is also mentioned, as well as the entire Goodbye Emily video that was created for Emily by Taylor consists of nothing but goodbye notes as well. So even though all this heartbreak and breakup is going on, Emily does attend Taylor's 18th birthday party at Lot 7 in Nashville. The footage from this party ends up being the footage used for the entire Beautiful Eyes music video, which makes me wonder if Beautiful Eyes was actually written about Emily, but I can't say for sure. December 30th of 2007 is another Lover Diary entry. January of 2008, she has a Grand Ole Opry performance, and it's the last documented performance with Emily. Interestingly, roughly about the same time, Taylor also parted ways with her manager, Rick Barker. He was replaced by Robert Allen, with whom she established 13 Management, and this might suggest that a new marketing strategy was being devised, which was judged incompatible with same-sex relationships. And so I think at this time, her label was trying to prepare Taylor to embrace the title of America's Sweetheart. Thanks so much for tuning in to Chapter 3 of Taylor's Timeline. I hope to see you all next week. Every Thursday I have a new video up. Next week we'll be talking about ages 18 through 21, talking about her time on the road, getting her first headlining tour, getting to the Speak Now tour, and the creation of the Speak Now album, bleeding into Red a little bit. And I hope to see y'all there, and thanks so much for catching up with me. Bye!